take it from here on and talk to us.
Okay. Well, here we go. I'm going to start off with the first tip. Isolate yourself. I'm going to say that again, you guys. We have to isolate ourselves. And when you look back through history, you see the men who were truly able to accomplish great feats were the men who were able to focus on what's most important. And what's most important for me, what's most important for you guys right now, is that you focus on semen retention, right? Now, that may be to some easier said than done, right? That's why you got to isolate yourself. And for me personally, right, some of the ways that I like to get my mental juices flowing, I think about the great men of the Holy Bible, right? Now, you look at guys like Moses, right? Look at guys like Jesus the Christ. Look at people like Elijah, right? Now, anybody who's familiar with the Holy Bible out there, they'll know something about those guys. But for the guys who are not familiar with the Holy Bible out there, right? And this is boss at home. I'm not telling you guys that you have to abide by this. I'm telling you what works for me, right? And I know that it works. And this is a fact. I've done the homework. I've done my due diligence, as they say. And I was only able to do that by isolating myself. When you isolate yourself, you are going to be forced to face the music, right? Cut yourself off from whatever you have to cut yourself off from. If it's cutting yourself off from certain people, I'm not talking about forever. I'm talking about for a time. Cut yourself off from certain people, certain activities, certain things that you listen to, certain things that you look at. Because the Holy Bible even lets you know, by beholding, we become changed, right? Now, there are a lot of stories in the Bible. Yes, there are allegories in there. There are parables in there. But there's also literal, real history in there. There's also science in there. There's also prophecies in there. There's a multitude of things in that Bible that the world has chosen to turn their backs on. And that's one of the main reasons that why we're in the state that we're in today. You guys, think about, like I said, if you don't know about the Bible, go check it out sometimes, you guys. Even if you want to take it for the parables and the allegories, even though it's much more, but it's plenty of things in there for everyone if you got the eyes to see. Think of guys like Moses. Moses went into the desert, into the wilderness. He was alone. He was by himself. He wasn't out there spanking his monkey. Okay? He wasn't out there going on Instagram or thinking about how fat somebody's booty was, how he couldn't wait to blow their back out. That's not what he was thinking about out there. Moses was out there in the wilderness getting his mind right. He was isolating himself where the Most High God could get to him. Because see, when we got so many things going on out here in this world, so many things, some of them are outside of our control, some of them are not. Either way, they come across our plate, they come across our space, so we got to deal with them. That's why you go isolate yourself and you think about what's important, okay? Think about, for many of you out there, I know it's a lot of you guys out there who will say, hey, I don't believe in the Bible. I don't believe in Jesus Christ. And here's what I'll say to you guys out there who think that everything is a fairy tale. You're going to find this out. Hopefully you'll listen to Boss at Home and others out there so you won't have to find out the hard way. It doesn't matter if you believe something. It only matters if it's true. If the Holy is true, it doesn't matter if you believe it. You will suffer the consequences if you don't accept the truth. That's one thing we got to do as men on semen retention. We got to face the stone cold truth, even if it hurts you guys, because you'll be grateful that you face the truth now instead of having to face it later. Like I said, think about Jesus the Christ. He went out into the wilderness 40 days, 40 nights. He fasted. He prayed. He was getting his mind right for what he had to accomplish. He wasn't out there spanking his monkey. He wasn't out there saying, I can't wait to get back to Jerusalem so I can have sex with as many women as I can. That was the furthest thing from his mind. Okay? But what do you have to do to isolate yourself? You got Instagram, you got YouTube, you got Pornhub. You have to shut all of these things down, you guys, if you have to. Only you know what's holding you back. You got to look within. When you isolate yourself, that's one of the main purposes, you guys. And you're going to figure that out the longer you go on semen retention. Everything you got, you were already born with it. Everything. And there's just so many things that you can build when you isolate yourself. That's your time to build. You want to build, I call it, and some of the other brothers call it, putting your spiritual brick in. You want to build yourself a spiritual brick house, you got to put your spiritual brick in. That's doing the work. That's creating a credo. You got to have a motto. You got, as a man on semen retention, you got to have discipline. You got to have a motto that you're going to live by and that you'll die by. That's something that you can develop right now if you isolate yourself. But while you're just running around out here doing anything sporadically, everything spontaneously, that is not going to work anymore. Because guess what? When you do everything on a whim and everything spontaneously, that will lead you to beating your meat. And then you're going to be busting the nut. And then you're going to be saying, dang, here we go. So
yes,
isolate yourself. Yep, y'all.
This is wonderful. I love this. I love the idea, because we all have gone through it. In order to even be on this live right now, to have this channel and this work, there's no way that you didn't have to isolate yourself. You can't. In order to have any spiritual advancement or intellectual wisdom and understanding, you have to have gone through lots of isolation. I am the king of isolation. I am the king of solace. I am the king of solitude. I am the king of that. First of all, from my Christian background, you know, in Christianity, you know that we are taught to isolate yourself and spend time with the Holy Spirit, spend time with God. I often say, to substantiate what you're saying, I often refer to, and I've mentioned to people, Jesus had to wake up at 4 a.m. in the fourth hour, I think, in the morning, to go pray, to go meet with the Father and be by himself. And the disciples had to do the same thing. Moses, as you mentioned, Elijah, Daniel. Daniel went to the what we call the Daniel's consecration, 10-day consecration. I mean, every called, the Apostle Paul, John the Baptist lived in the wilderness. I mean, Moses went to meet God to receive the 10 commandments, the revelation, wisdom, and then to come down to meet the people. I like to say, before you can help the people, you have to leave the people and go meet God one-on-one, sanctify your spirit, empower your spirit, and then let God build you up, and then come down and help the people. You can't have this platform. You can't touch people. You can't influence people unless you've been touched and influenced by the universe or by God.
That's right.
And that can only happen through isolation. It can only happen through isolation.
Good.
But there is so much noise out there now.
Yes.
It's hard for those people to be isolated. Bro, I lived in Florida for about 14 years. I knew every public park in Central Florida, that is in Orlando and its surrounding cities. I'm talking about maybe a good 60, 70 mile radius. I practice going to parks. I moved to Louisiana. I stayed in Louisiana for a short period of time. The same thing. I've been living in ATL now for 5 years. It's the same thing. I know parks. When I go to a new city, the first thing I do is I look up a gym and I look up a public park. Isolation, spending time with myself, spending time with the Spirit, spending time with God.
Right.
Because you can't hear what the Spirit is saying unless you are at the place to hear
Right.
what the Spirit is saying. So
Good.
I love this, and thank you for
Mm-hmm.
sharing that with us.